...2017 was a whirlwind of shows, starting with Billy Elliot all the way down to Jingle Bells, Batman Smells with Jeannie B. Jones and the cast of kids.
It's been great. We either have a show on the main stage or a show in the Lagniappe kind of every month.
So in 2017, we did 15 productions between our two spaces.
Which is fantastic for us. And then in December, we had Steel Poinsettias running while Jeannie B. Jones' Christmas was running.
We're just so grateful that we have audiences who are wanting to come to the theater that often and keep filling our houses.
This is the case. Who the bloody hell are you? Billy Elliot?
Billy Elliot.
Pleased to meet you. I'm
Oh man, what a way to start a year, right?
And 1, 2, 3, and 2, 2, 3, and 3, 2, 3, and 4, 2, 3.
It was really the culmination of, a long journey of me seeing it in New York and being completely overwhelmed with the entire experience, the show and just the production itself, and knowing that I wanted to present it one day.
I was in Gypsy at Rivertown a couple of years ago.
And I just remembered him from that production. He was always spinning and flipping around. The content and the acting and even the vocal demands were a little bit outside of his comfort zone because he is a hardcore 24/7 dancer.
It wasn't easy doing dancing, acting, singing, tricks, different dialects. Oh, we had accents and everything too.
In Billy Elliot, I helped Marcel, who played Billy. I helped him organize all of his costume changes because practically every scene he had a costume change.
She totally reminded me exactly what I needed for the next scene. She said, oh, here's the scarf, here's the shoes. Don't forget your tap shoes.
Fold outs and all of my notes for every scene and any changes that we had.
That notebook had literally every quick change, every piece and part of my costume, and like without her in that notebook, I probably would not have made it on stage sometimes.
For me, it was a surprising journey for a musical theater character. Like, I don't do a lot of musicals, and somehow Rivertown this year has turned me into a musical theater actor. But Billy has one of the best scripts, one of the best scene work that I've seen in a musical. And the dad's journey is just tremendous. And he's got the biggest arc, I think, in the play.
All the stuff that we went through in rehearsal and like the bonding that you normally do get with shows, I think it just was like so much greater in that show for some reason.
We all felt really proud of the show, and we felt like we were part of something really special, but I really didn't know if, the language was gonna overshadow the beautiful message of the show.
Billy Elliot was my first big role anywhere, and I had to curse. So we had,
was it fun to curse?
No. I felt guilty, like really guilty.
I was a little worried on how the show was going to be received by our audiences, and I really didn't know up until opening night what the reaction was going to be.
I maybe cried a little, but there's no proof that I cried, but I maybe did cry. Because if you put like a father-son thing on stage, forget it. That's it.
Even my cynical ass, every time Billy would jump in my arms, I would get teary-eyed. Every night. And I got so mad at myself for that. I was trying to be the hard ass. Kelly would laugh at me.
I knew it was a special show. I would say, I think it might have been our second or third dress rehearsal during Solidarity, because I'm off stage like helping change and watching it. And when Marcel goes to do those fouettes, and he like hit every single one. He did 13 every time, 12 or 13, because we were counting them backstage.
And I remember Liz Argus, who we all respect in this community, and she said to me, this is lightning in a bottle. Like, we have something so special here, and I know 20 years from now people are going to be talking about this production. And we knew when it was starting to wind down, and we were all getting like really, really upset and emotional about the thought that this process was going to be ending, and there were just tears.
And like, I cry a lot, but the kids kept coming up to me, and I kept being like, "Don't cry! You're making me cry. Like, I'm not going to help you feel any better. Like, I'm crying with you." We were all crying in the dressing room.
The final show for me was a mess because I was completely bawling, crying at the end. Literally, they were holding me up in the final pose.
And the very last moment when that button hit and the entire company is, giving all their energy towards Marcel, he was lifted up in the air and he just crumbled in half and just kind of lost it on stage, because we all knew that this was kind of the end of something super, super special.
Yeah, everyone started crying. Like, it was there were a lot of tears. We knew that last show would be a tough one because everyone had become kind of a family. It's like, you know, I remember being a kid leaving summer camp after you'd been there for weeks, and it's just the hardest thing to go away because you made all these new friends, and that's what it felt like.
So it was the first time in a very long time I got to just sit in the audience and experience the show like just one of our audience members. We do good shows. I had no idea.
Anything suspicious, let us know, sir.
Will you, Constable?
All aboard, all aboard!
Violation,
All aboard, all aboard!
Read all about it, read all
All
about it.
aboard, all aboard!
Oh, would you just get on with it?
It was fun to revisit the 39 Steps after having done it like 6 years ago.
39 Steps was, we just thought, absolutely, yes, we want to do this show again.
He's leapt from the grave!
Out of the way, please, miss.
I was really happy that the audience really kind of latched onto it the way they did.
We could not have done that show if Ricky and Gary and Jesse had not done it 6 or 7 years earlier.
Right. We only had about 21 rehearsals for that show, and some of those days I was in Disney with the family, so I was in the car driving with them with the recordings of me saying all the lines over and over and over, so the kids knew the lines before I did.
I mean, I love nothing more than like being able to just change clothes really fast and play different characters in a row. And I remember when we did the show before, I remember it being much more difficult than it was this time. I don't know what it was, but this was a much smoother experience than we had the last time, I guess just because we kind of knew what to expect.
There was one night where I made that entrance in that dress and that red wig, and somebody in the front row off to the left side just whistled, and I started giggling.
A secret society!
I got to shoot everyone.
Yeah, so every night Gary had to shoot me. He had to give me these long stares, make lots of weird sounds. So all I could do was stand there like this, looking at his eyes, and he would try and get me to break. And a few nights, it worked. So it became a game, who could get me to laugh, between Mason and Gary. Mason had his own moment with...
I'll try that. Cheerio!
Not tonight, you won't!
Won't I?
No, it's 14 miles on the other side of the loch.
It was just really nice to know that we don't always have to do a big, huge, grand, you know, overly spectacle musical to sell out a show, because we did sell it out, and to have such wonderful enthusiasm come back from the audience. I mean,
The show is full of physical comedy. Like, I had to hang from a ladder, I had to shimmy underneath Jesse in a chair. So there's a part where I have to like suddenly fall asleep and just like throw myself down on the bed. Well, the bed isn't really a bed, it's just a piece of plywood with a thin blanket on it. So I would say good night, and I'd throw myself down on the bed. And when I did it, I heard a snap in my rib. And I was like, oh, that doesn't feel very good at all. So I just laid there in pain, and then the next day it got worse, and so there was some sort of, you know, thing going on in my rib. I went to the doctor, but he said we can do x-rays and things like that, but like he said there's nothing you can do. All you can do is just gut through it, you know, like, because what are they going to do, wrap you up, then you can't breathe, so.
It's always really fun when we get to do a musical like Bye Bye Birdie, where we get to have a wide variety of ages. And it's really great when they all get to interact together on stage, and that brings a diverse audience, you know. We get to have a lot of families come in and see these family shows, and it's just a great energy.
Bye Bye Birdie was one of the most fun shows that I've ever been a part of. And I think a lot of it had to do with the young teenagers, early 20-year-olds. I've never been in a show with so many young people. And the energy was just vibrant.
Kyle has built himself up to be this curmudgeon, right? So when you get Kyle in the room, you expect this grumpy old man, but he came in and was delightful and loved all the kids and had a great experience. I never saw that coming.
Smile!
I'm gonna be honest, the only reason I did Bye Bye Birdie was so I could do the zombie version. That's literally the only reason I did it.
Die Die Birdie was so much fun.
It was a little skeptical at first.
Gary's been talking about the zombie thing for so long. It was, you know, I wasn't actually sold on it, but I do trust his creative vision, and I just said go for it. You know, it's your thing. You've been wanting to do this for a while.
Stuff that was really funny in the first show, like in the traditional Bye Bye Birdie, it was funny for a different reason in Die Die Birdie, and I think Gary did just like a really great job of like really thinking it through.
The fun part was like all the makeup and stuff we got to wear. I don't know how it didn't laugh because everybody was like dying, like especially the part where he like put his finger out and I went to go like bite it.
Some of my friends who came to see the zombie version did not come to see the regular version, I guess maybe because they had seen it so many times before, and then there was the whole curiosity factor.
Yeah, some people maybe wanted to see it be bad, but then like it ended up being funny and still a great show and charming.
And we didn't change anything. We didn't change the dialogue, we didn't change the lyrics, we didn't even really change the choreography. If you saw it, we just gave everybody machetes. And yeah, somebody tried to turn us in and get us in trouble for the zombie thing, and they couldn't. Leave us alone. But let me say this, the zombie thing worked. I had more fun. I'm telling you, like, all those years ago when I saw in my head that little zombie girl walking on for Put on a Happy Face, and when Meredith walked out, it was the perfect kid zombie. It was like all of my dreams came true in that one moment.
But who cares? No big deal. I want more.
Little Mermaid was just magical. I mean, it was so beautiful. It was a gorgeous production, from the lighting design and the set design and the costume design, and every actor was just perfectly cast for their role.
I always wanted to be Ariel since I was little. Like, it was a really big dream of mine. But I think the biggest challenge was making sure to differentiate like between the Disney characters I've already played. And I just wanted to make sure that they weren't all meshing together. You know, if someone came and saw Peter Pan or came and saw Tarzan and then came and saw The Little Mermaid, I really wanted to make sure that they weren't like, this girl just plays the same princess in every single show. So I tried to really find the heart in Ariel, which is hard because she's young, she's so young.
It was great playing the role that no one remembers from the movie. Because people would be like, who are you playing? And I'd say Scuttle, and they'd be like, who's Scuttle? I'm like, the bird. And they would say, there's a bird? Yeah, there's a bird. So when I got to fly out, which I thought would be much scarier than it was, but when I got to fly out, people remembering that there was even a bird in the show was really kind of delightful to me.
Chef Louie was actually the most challenging role I have ever played, because I'm on stage for a collective 12 minutes. And 9 of those 12 minutes, I am running around this table. I have 30 props. I am singing at the top of my range.
Yeah, so that's my third flying show. So my first was Peter Pan at Rivertown. And then The Little Mermaid was crazy because I had to do all kind of like maneuvers to make myself look like I was swimming. So underneath the tail, it was not as graceful as it looked.
Little Mermaid was a blast. Little Mermaid was stressful. But the most stressful work is the one that you leave and you're the most proud of.
And it was so fun to have the audience filled with all of these young kids, especially these little girls who show up in their Ariel costumes, and just see, you can see their faces and their eyes are just lit up to see this come to life. People have been asking us to do Guys and Dolls forever. And it was a beautiful, fun, colorful, high energy, everything we expected for it.
I didn't even see Guys and Dolls. I worked crew on that, so I got to see it all from the wings. Let me tell you, nicest group of people you ever want to meet. Everyone was so friendly, everyone got along, everybody had a great time.
Oh, I had so much fun. The girls backstage, we became a little army. It was just the most fun. We were making up fake names for each other. We were filming silly YouTube sketches.
Nicely, it's the best role because you're only on stage in Act 1 for like a collective 20 minutes. So you walk onto the stage, you get the laughs, you leave, you have a break, you go on Facebook, and then you come back on stage and you get the laughs and you get to eat food on stage.
It's funny because it was never on my list of like, I want to play this part. I never saw myself playing that part because I'm not really a singer, I'm not a dancer at all. And I was so glad I did it. I ended up having a blast. Like, that show was just fun.
So I show up to the theater on opening night, and Allison comes up to me and is like, oh my God, did you hear about Mike?
So Mike Harkins, right, cuts his hand open opening night.
I was cleaning a knife with a sponge, and I stopped paying attention for a second, and I went past the knife and then came back.
I was very scared actually, because when I saw the picture via text message, it looked like, you know, Frankenstein.
And comes in and does the show with like a fully wrapped hand.
I made it here 10 minutes before curtain, and everybody just quickly dressed me. I had my hand all bandaged up.
And I'm in the wings, and I look on the stage because there was a lot of dancing, and I go, that's not sweat.
Second act, I started bleeding on stage. I was standing there and I felt something, and I looked down and I go, oh, and I look at Preston and he goes, and he like hands me his handkerchief, and we have this discussion, like whisper discussion, hoping our mics aren't up. And I'm like, I think I'm gonna skip Luck Be a Lady and see if I can stop the bleeding.
I remember the first night when I handed the letter from my mother, and he goes, oh, can you open for me? I'm all thumbs. And I even broke. I felt like Jimmy Fallon, which is not what you want to do.
I had surgery that following Tuesday after opening weekend, and then after 2 days of surgery, went on for the next week.
So when we came up with the concept of doing 2 productions of The Odd Couple, the male version, the female version, we just thought, you know, same set and everything's going to be easy. It's, you know, 2 scripts, just 1 production.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it. I know it was stressful for Ricky, but what's not, let's be honest.
But it actually ended up being 2 completely different productions, and Ricky Graham did such a great job of directing both shows at the same time. And
it was a very hard show to learn. But, you know, Sean and I were talking about it, Sean Patterson, who played Oscar, and once we learned it, I've never had more fun just being out there. And in both versions too, like getting to play the Spanish brothers was a lot of fun, but then getting to work with him and play Felix and Oscar and really just share the stage and work together for 2 hours was a lot of fun. I'm glad I got to do that.
So, and not only did we have really great accomplished leads for both the male and the female Odd Couple, but everyone in the show, all the supporting cast, just completely hit their mark.
What's crazy that the female cast never met the male cast.
There was really hardly any interaction between the staffs of the 2 shows. The male supporting cast all showed up for opening night of the female cast, and I got to quickly meet a couple of the characters there. I met the Murray of the other show.
And I met him, he came and saw the show, and it was really funny. I was like, are you the other cop? He said, I am. I'm like, we share a hat.
Even Steve Smith, who was making his stage debut, like knocked it out of the park. A funny story is, he had such a big fan base.
Well, my wife put together a bunch of friends and family and things. I knew that a lot of them were gonna come.
And they came and they actually had banners and full-sized photocopies of his head, and at curtain call they would stand up and wave the banners.
I found out that they had banners and heads and all that stuff when we came out to take a bow. I was shocked. I was shocked. I couldn't believe that they brought all that stuff into the theater, that they got it in there. I don't know how they did, if they get a hard time at the door.
I mean, can you imagine when they came up from curtain call and you saw that in the audience? I mean, it was like being at a Saints game. We had so many opportunities for children this year. I mean, starting in the beginning of the year with Billy Elliot, then Bye Bye Birdie, and then of course our summer camps with Birdie Jr. and Little Mermaid Jr. and a few kids were in Little Mermaid on the main stage. And we did Schoolhouse Rock Live.
Schoolhouse Rock is a fun show because you're essentially getting to teach your audience.
I mean, it's kids performing for kids, and I feel like we can really connect with each other, and they get the little kid jokes and they always laugh at them.
It really worked out perfect that we had 2 holiday shows running at the same time with Ricky Graham in the Lanyap Theater, and then we were able to put Junie B, Jingle Bells, Batman Smells on the main stage, and the kids really felt like the responsibility of being on the main stage, and we were able to fully realize the production.
And we didn't just do Junie B. Jones for the regular nighttime shows, we also did it for the field trips.
Well, some of them were awkward because some of the kids didn't know to clap or not.
You could see there were like a few kids in the audience and they just wanted to like dance and sing. They were like standing up and trying to see us.
I think the kids at the field trip shows were told to behave themselves, so they didn't clap or laugh or anything. They were just sitting there quietly the whole time.
The fun thing for me is that I didn't have to play a kid. I got to play an adult. Wearing a mustache it had its ups and downs. I thought it was a funny mustache. It was fun, but at the same time, it was hard to keep it on because it kept falling off because I would sweat.
And the Junie B. Jones show, it's not a junior version. Like, it's written for adults to play these characters and to perform this script, which was the same case for Fancy Nancy the Musical and Pinkalicious.
I can't imagine what it's like watching adults doing Jingle Bells, Batman Spells, because all I can think about is like kids doing this show because it's so much fun and you have to have so much energy.
And the fact that our young performers are handling these scripts and these songs and playing these comedic moments, it really speaks volumes about their skill sets and, you know, their professionalism as performers.